Hey guys, and welcome to the Fuck Around and Find Out podcast. Today is our usual Tuesday episode. We're waiting on a couple of our crew members to either show up or announce that they're dead. I don't know. We haven't been able to get a hold of them. So, as for a guest, we have Zuri back on. And because we are currently unsupervised, Dad's not here, and Deadpool's not here, we're going to go ahead and talk about something I want to talk about, which is fucking sciencey bullshit. So, we are going to LARP out the massive cyber warfare between the big three: America, China, and Russia, and kind of just see how the world's going to end. How are you going to be wholesome? This will be a really wholesome episode. This will be something that you can sit around a fire, open a beer or a vein or something, and listen with some friends.
Get put on a watch list or two.
Yeah, get put on a couple of watch lists. So let's talk about. Let's see what kind of news. Oh shit! So everybody that's been following the story of George, the chicken at the house, right? Like the one that we saved. It was like my daughter's best friend and shit like that. It got fucking murked last night by a possum. A possum reached his grubby little dirty hand through the bars of the cage, grabbed him, and pulled his ass through the bars.
Oh, yikes.
And, yeah. So there's pieces of George everywhere. I'm sure that's a song. Pieces of George.
That sounds like a distraught love song.
Yeah. So pieces of George were everywhere, which was, hey, Dad's here. Fuck. God damn it.
Settle down, children. Settle down.
Oh, no.
Now we have adult supervision. But anyway, so we went to the feed store and picked up like 3 extra chickens to try to hide the fact that George isn't there. And so far she hasn't noticed.
So hold on. I gotta check your math real quick. I just gotta make sure I'm hearing this right.
That's how chicken math works.
So to hide the one missing chicken,
3
you got to replace him with 3. I mean, I guess that makes sense because if one's going to do the trick, 3 certainly should.
That's confusion. Yeah, it adds confusion because the 3 that we picked kind of looked like George. So it was she just like, where's George? And we're like, because normally she could just call George and George would like come out and like climb on her foot. And my wife's like, George is in the tree. I'm like, what fucking bullshit is that? George is in the tree.
He's in heaven.
George is lost.
Yeah, George got murked by a possum. So I made a possum trap, and I have a possum trap outside. It's extremely redneck engineered, and it's full of shrimp powder and toast. So
should work quite well.
Yeah, should work quite well.
Now, what use does a possum have?
They eat ticks. A lot of ticks.
I mean, like utility wise, from like the fur, the organs,
nothing,
skin,
none.
You can't do shit with it.
None. No, they're terrible.
Some people eat possum, but that's
I wouldn't.
It's
want
a terrible, greasy mess. It's somewhere between sewer rat and swamp rabbit. It's
they really have a displeasant odor also.
Yes, they smell like weasels or ferrets. Yeah, they're not a pleasant animal all around. Though the cool thing is that their body temperature is so low that they can't get things like rabies. They don't get most diseases. They're pretty much immune to everything, and they eat a shitload of ticks. They eat like their body weight in ticks every month. But like, as far as like utility, chicken eaters, that's about it. They have like this big, scary teeth, right? Like the big, scary teeth, but they have the weakest bite of like the animals like that are in the wild. They bite like shit. It's like 12 or 14 psi. It's just total shit. But which is why they bluff a lot and then play dead because they can't really like tear you up. I mean, don't get me wrong. You don't want to just shove your hand into a fucking random raccoon mouth random possum mouth because bad things are going to happen to that finger. But
you don't want
to get rabies. Yeah, don't finger your possum. Don't
I mean, there's certain adversaries that even if you can overpower them. Not even worth losing a finger over.
That hairless tail might be tempting, but dear God, it ain't worth
Just
it.
because you win the fight doesn't mean it's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. That reminds me of that commercial, the one where the guy is outside like poking the freaking raccoon with the like a stick, and his wife's like, "Don't fuck with that raccoon," and then he comes back in all scratched up, like his back's all scratched up, and she notices. And he's like, it flashes back to it. He doesn't want to get shit for fucking with the raccoon. So he's just like, I'm having an affair.
Oh, shit. I remember that.
Yeah, because he'd rather not get shit for fucking with the raccoon, have her go off on him and say, I told you not to screw with that raccoon, for 45 minutes. Or just be like, I'm having an affair. The fight's less dramatic.
Good time.
Yeah. All right. So Deadpool freaking messaged me and asked what the topic is. Trim, the topic today is going to be, we're going to LARP basically into the world. We're going to LARP a cyber warfare between the big three, right? America, Russia, and China. And we're just going to go ahead and assume that, let's go ahead and assume that everybody hates America. That China is super. That China is super opportunistic. Okay, and that Russia is desperate because they have limited resources, which is true.
Okay, that's all true. Okay.
Yeah,
there's a few other big players in the modern world too. Those are probably the top three in terms of like offensive capabilities right now, but other big players that do modern cyber warfare like day to day on an effective scale are North Korea and Iran. They both have very effective teams.
And we could go ahead and automatically assume they're going to be on China's side because both North Korea and Iran both just signed to use the yuan as their currency. So they're getting away from the dollar completely, and they're going to be all doing only their trade in the yuan. So,
but other than that, most modern nations do have some cyber warfare to some degree, but those are pretty much the only people that have, do it offensively to any scale and would presumably be involved.
I just can't see Iran. Like, what's Iran doing? Is like, I want to tell you something. You're going to send me boobs and vagine. I don't. Yeah.
It's just local cyber warfare against local adversaries. Yeah.
I could see him maybe messing up the power grid in Israel or something, but as far as Iran doing much against America, most of their stuff's pretty freaking outdated.
Aren't they the ones that have the whole parade on Death to America and they light the current president on fire and shit? I thought isn't that Iran? They're like, Death to America.
I think that was a movie, but because if that had happened, I would have saved it.
They don't have a presidential effigy. They just, burn this fucker, even though he's made of straw. Just, slap a fucking sticker of his face on it. I don't know. I thought I saw something about that.
Oh, I thought you were talking about they had a parade and accidentally lit the podium with the president on fire. I would have laughed so freaking hard because that's how I would. I don't see Iran as much of a threat to anybody but Iran. Just because I've dealt a lot in the Middle East, and nobody really gives them top of the line stuff on purpose. Because it would be like giving the fucking Klingons the most newest, bestest shit, right? You don't give the Klingons the most newest, bestest shit when they're perfectly fine fighting with the Baccarat, okay? So,
right. One interesting thing about this, though, is in cyber warfare, if you have a certain number of bright minds with the capabilities and the resources, it's not necessarily typical conventional warfare where you have to have the firepower. You can steal your firepower from across the world. You can create botnets of other people's computers. You can write a really shitty botnet on a old laptop, or even find an old one, modify it. release it, and then you instantly now have supercomputer capabilities. Even though
that would probably be a Russian thing, right?
Everyone does this. Everyone does this. Okay. You're behind if you're not making botnets.
Oh,
dang it!
You can build and buy all the supercomputers in the world you want, but that plus other people's computers is better.
That makes sense. So it's like a chain.
Yeah, it's typically just malware that will get around through various means, and its main purpose is just to allow a remote user to perform operations on your computer, and then they can distribute stuff.
Kind of like how they were doing the SETI search and using a little bit of processing power from everybody's fucking computer as a background, thing.
Yeah, distributed computing is used everywhere. This is a form of non-consensual distributed computing, you could say.
Nice. Okay, so how would this scenario look? All right, let me think. Let's see. We just had a huge crop failure. So, okay. So here we go. I'm going to set the scenario. America we just came out of a massive another crop failure because this is literally right out of the news. It just happened. Whereas Kansas has not had a single viable crop in over a year, which is currently going on. The wheat is totally and completely collapsed. Wheat prices overseas are going crazy to the point where we can't buy them because everybody's going away from American currency. We have global banks that are basically the BRICS union kind of banks, and so America decides that it needs to knock down their banking system a bit in a peg. Whether we've tried to release a bunch of political bullshit and apply a bunch of backdoor deals and fine them and make it very expensive for them to buy our stuff. And they just turned around and just made it 3 times as expensive for us to buy their stuff. So now we've finally we get a green light. What is his name? Biden blearily wakes up, asks if it's Thanksgiving yet, and then looks over to his somebody in the cabinet and goes, I don't care what you do, knock them down a peg. And go. How would America go about knocking down or slowing down or tying up the financial system overseas?
Well, the big one, the surface level is just straight up attacking the banking network to make it not operate. But that's almost a little too pedestrian and a little too obvious, because if a banking system isn't working, it's not like, that's odd. It's, that's odd, right?
Yeah.
Break into their accounts and put millions and millions of whatever dollar you want into everybody's account.
Yeah, so
I think that's a little bit more difficult than it seems.
I'm just saying, holy shit.
So in terms of how it would absolutely start is on the espionage side. There's no actions. Well, in terms of actions, there's infiltration with malware for botnets and stuff, but you're not attacking, you're listening, picking up info.
But any of sort of those physical stuff work, there for a while, I was aware of, they have those free USB charging ports, like in a Chicago O'Hare Airport, were downloading tracking software to people's phones and copying their phone when they plugged into them. So would we do something like that? Just drop a bunch of just USB sticks places?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the holy grail would be if the attackers could just remotely, directly access via the internet. If you get lucky, that's probably the case from the outset, but usually that's not your first vector. The first vector is almost always in some of these state-sponsored attacks, a physical medium like that. So either plug it into a charging station, or somebody just drops a few USB drives around. That I believe that's how Stuxnet ended up happening. It was, someone dropped a USB drive and someone just picked it up and plugged it into a computer in the warehouses, and the rest is history. And then once you have the physical vector, then you can get in through the internet. If the stuff's on the internet.
there was that thing that just kind of came out in the news just a couple of days ago. It was talking about HP computers had like a back door in them that people were using to access the intranet of different buildings. They were able to Wi-Fi in to the unsecured computer. Even if the computer was on a secure network, they had the back door in through the printer. So the Wi-Fi capabilities of the printer.
I haven't heard of this specific one, but backdoors is the other main thing. So either backdoors or a 0-day vulnerability. These are almost always used by like state-sponsored actors. This is what really makes the difference between like a rogue group and a state-sponsored actors. The funding and resources to develop and coordinate backdoors and 0 days. They're similar but slightly different. So like a backdoor is like you somehow intentionally got it in there with like the manufacturer's help or whatever, and it's just a backdoor for you to get in. The terminology could also be used like you hacked in and then made a backdoor for yourself, but usually a backdoor is placed there. Like the NSA goes to some computer company and they're like, hey, we need to be able to get into your computers. That would be a backdoor. A 0-day is a critical vulnerability that nobody knows about except for you. And that is some of the most valuable piece of information ever. Because when you have a 0-day, you can unleash hell upon unsuspecting defenders. They don't have to have a backdoor. You didn't have to get in there already. They have no idea that this was even a threat.
There's supposedly kill switches in cell phones for them to be able to turn them all off or turn them all back on. Like just knock them off the networks. That'd probably be pretty disruptive to a society. So like if
oh yeah, so if you want to go for like to hurt a society, you can hurt the citizens very much through a digital attack, mostly because for most citizens in most countries, if you damage their digital life, they're kind of lost. And that's, it sounds a little silly, but that would be a big deal on scale. It would be very disruptive.
Makes sense.
Okay, so America goes in, they're super pissed off about not being able to buy all this corn, wheat, and everything like that. We go in and all we do is shift the timing on their stock market over just a few seconds so that nothing fucking lines up and everything is screwy and their whole stock market has to close for the day. So like the packets of information coming in aren't lining up with the ports are supposed to go to. Nothing's working correctly. It's all screwed up. And so they have to close for the day. However, China notices that, hey, that was totally freaking came from the little CIA building there in fucking Texarkana. Their big CIA freaking cyber warfare thing they got going over there. So now they know it's us. What does China do in response for screwing with their stock market?
So I think China does it stealthy at first, especially because I don't know if you heard about this recently. There's this malware called Snake, which was taken down. Quite the name, very fitting. It just sounds like a malware, right? And so this was one of Russian state-sponsored hacking groups' main botnets, and it was just taken down by the United States through coordination with the FBI and stuff. So what China's looking to do is not repeat that. So, but they are super capable, and it's not slowing them down. It's just a different approach. So they're going to get people in the U.S. to start dropping these drives, man. They're no digital traces, but it's immediate retaliation of trying to get access to American systems.
Okay, so they're just going to have sleeper cells dropping thumb drives or just dropping stuff, or?
Oh yeah, well that's just how it starts because you have to get access, but due to concerns about traceability, they're going to be extra cautious. So that's why it's going to be very in person at first. But once you're in and securely in that way, that's where the curious things happen of what kind of attacks are going to, come your way.
Well, what kind of attacks would you see them doing?
Absolutely power and networked infrastructure. There's so many attacks you could do on the U.S. That would do a lot of damage. Trying to do the same stuff with the stock market, try to fiddle with that, hurt the economic system. But really the easiest way to cripple America's economy through digital attacks is the power network and infrastructure.
That power grid is old. It's old.
Exactly.
A lot of it's ran by SCADA. Like, it's old shit.
Old and vulnerable.
Yeah.
And we're overly dependent on it across the world, but especially in the United States. We use a lot of electricity here.
So for people that don't know what SCADA is an old solid state switch. It's either on or fucking off. And that's pretty much it. Like, the great thing about them is they don't fail. The bad thing about them is that they're either on or off. There's not a lot of solutions there. If they're on, everything's going great. If they're off, they're just off. And it requires the right amount of power to turn them back on. They're like 3.8 volts, but like if you've turned the power off completely to them, you're not going to turn that switch back on. I've done a lot of SCADA stuff in the oil field. That was one of the biggest things about an EMP is they were worried that it would fry all the SCADA stuff and just shut down or cause all of the stuff to open at once or turn it all off. So either one would be equally as catastrophic. Either it opens up all the gateways at once or it closes them all at once and everything explodes. Or it opens everything at once and everything explodes. So it's like either way, it explodes. So,
yeah, and it's a compounding effect too, because the power infrastructure is a system, not individual components. So a tiny disruption, like a targeted attack in a local area, can actually have disproportionately large effects across the network. And God forbid it's I forget what the terminology is, but not like the blackout that a consumer may say, but like an actual network blackout where you have to kickstart the infra from zero. I'm not super familiar with it, but it's challenging.
Cascading effects. There was those massive cascading effects. Wasn't there like when the East Coast went down, like, was it 2 years ago? It was because of like one transformer in Philly or some shit like that. It wasn't even like in the middle of the city. It was like off in the country. One transformer died and it just left to a massive cascading effect that took out like the whole East Coast power grid. But
yeah, these systems are really intertwined, so it's very vulnerable.
Then Texas had a huge power outage about a year ago too, didn't they?
With
snowstorm. Yeah, snowstorm.
Yeah, that would be 2021 actually. With snowvid. And what happened with snowvid is they didn't anticipate how much power people were going to use to keep their houses warm, weirdly. So instead of bringing all of the natural gas generators and everything that we have all at once, they tried to bring them up in stages. And instead of bringing them all up like, hey, it's going to hit negative 25 degrees in a tropical fucking environment that doesn't understand cold, everybody's going to crank their shit to 120 and rip the knob off, right?
Yep.
So with minimally insulated fucking houses, because it's a tropical damn environment, everybody's going to freeze to death. And a lot of people did freeze to death. So they didn't start ramping up until it already hit like negative 10 degrees. And by that time, they hadn't even winter-proofed their cooling towers and stuff for their for the natural gas things. And some of those have been off since the summer, right? Since they had to be turned on to provide more energy during that, like when it hits like 110 and everybody wants to turn their AC on. So a lot of those cooling towers, the pipes broke and froze. And so they're just like, fuck, we're screwed. And it all goes back to they had an opportunity to winterize everything, but it was going to cost $50,000. And they went, yeah, it's going to be a mild winter. And it wasn't. And because of that, it took out most of the Texas grid for about 3 or 4 days. And during that time, I mean, it hit negative 25 with 75-mile-an-hour winds, and it killed a lot of people. It was pretty incredible. I mean, that doesn't sound real cold for a lot of you bastards who are in, Canada. But your houses have like insulation,
Yes,
and you have alternate methods of heating. Whereas here, most of the houses really don't have like central heating. They have central air conditioning, but everybody just has like little standalone heaters to heat one room of your house or so. So
yeah, I can lose my heat, and it'll take me half a day before I even realize it's not working anymore in the dead of winter.
And here it's just a few minutes. They're all single pane glass. It's a tropical environment, so it's not insulated the same way at all, even a little bit. Everything here is designed to keep your house cooler, not warmer.
But we do not have central air here, or I don't anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of people froze. And doing something like that, like especially if it was in winter, just knocking out the power grid would cause a lot of problems. Hell, just telling all of those remote card readers just that, hey, you don't work anymore. You're all going down for maintenance, and nobody can buy anything with their debit card or credit card would fuck up everything. And that doesn't seem like it'd be that difficult. Just kick them all into maintenance mode.
And honestly, it's getting really hard to buy anything with cash anymore.
Yeah, but if
could
you imagine if they just in retaliation kicked everything into maintenance mode? Because each one of those machines, if you ever worked retail and you had to reboot that machine has to ping its mother station before it can come back and turn back on, right? And well, if all of them are at the same time trying to ping MasterCard or whatever, or like if they take multiple cards, they have to ping each one. Well, if you just turned them all off at once, they would overwhelm everything trying to ping it, and they would all just crash again. And it might be 2 days, 3 days until everybody can use debit cards or credit cards, or an ATM or anything that takes debit card or credit card again. Even a pump reader, because the packets of information. Yeah. Because if you crashed all the debit card processing facilities, I imagine those guys have a lot of front end security, but not a lot of back end security. Like they want to make sure the packet of information goes securely from them to the bank, to the retailer, to them, right? But I doubt that they have a series of backups, just sitting over there, like an empty rack of processors just sitting over there ready to go. Like, oh shit, we're getting a whole bunch of extra. Flip the switch and turn it on, Johnny. And let's triple our capacity to process information. I doubt that exists. So
it actually usually does, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't be, an attack like that wouldn't result in basically a DDoS attack from all your own card readers still hitting you. Even still websites that have auto scaling that use the cloud, they're still, they can still get taken down sometimes. But it's not to say that it couldn't happen. It probably can and would be pretty bad. I mean, it's exactly like you said. People don't, a lot of places aren't set up for cash. People don't carry cash, and even if that goes down, you're not going to the ATM to go get cash. Yeah, at least in my case, my bank isn't even nearby anymore because I moved. So there's plenty of people like that can't go to a bank.
Yeah, so what you got's what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
What you got in your pockets? What you got?
I got a nickel, button, paperclip. How much does that get me?
Yeah. Suddenly
back. Well, you can even see on the power infrastructure topic, even recently in conventional warfare, you can see that's a huge target. Over the past winter, that civilian power infrastructure in Ukraine was a main target exactly for that reason. It was it's just so influential in everyone's lives in areas.
So we've gotten let's say that China strike back by just screwing up all the card readers. All right. So now you have Russia's like, hey, now it's a great time to fuck with America. So what does Russia do? They have these huge botnets that kind of, when I think Russia's cyber warfare thing, I think massive disseminated processing power in bunkers. People hiding in bunkers with massive disseminated processing power. So what would Russia do to try to kick us when we're down?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how they do it. That's exactly what it's like. Some young Russians in bunkers controlling botnets. The issue is that their botnet their main botnet has just been killed. But let's pretend that didn't happen. Unless you want to, but it might be more fun with it. Because otherwise they're probably pretty crippled at the moment. But let's say they got it.
Hasn't been killed. Yeah.
Yep. So they got it.
Or it was all fake and we didn't get the real one.
Right. Exactly. So here's the issue now, though. The issue is the cyber warfare is now front and center. Like, maybe it's not exactly certain like what's happening, but it's not hidden either. Like, everybody knows something's happening. And so cyber warfare goes on nowadays, but it's usually very silent, and so not a big problem. But now it is escalating here. So Russia is going to step up the ante. And it might be worth mentioning the elephant in the room, which is our nuclear silos and how those do operate on computers.
I thought they were air-gapped.
They are, but there have been many air-gapped systems which have been breached. There are also ways to trigger certain nukes without, breaching that air gap. So there's some details about like the Russian dead hand system, which is, theoretically, if Russia is hit by nukes and there's no one to send out the message, they'll still launch in retaliation. I don't know all the details of it.
Keep hitting no. They have to keep hitting no.
So theoretically, you can perform some adversarial attack, which maybe you're not directly in their computers, but the signals in the environment that you're able to manipulate have caused them to go off intentionally. You can bridge air gaps in all sorts of ways.
That sounds like that sounds like a bad way for them to start, because we're going to just immediately, it's going to take it from a cyber warfare to a fucking, just a beat down right off the fucking bat.
Oh, that's the issue. Is it in any apparent cyber warfare? I believe it will escalate very quickly, because there's only so much you can do. Take out the power, stop people's payments. What's the next step?
Take away their food.
The food's gone. There's no power, no payment. You can't grow food, can't get it around. People don't know what to do. Now it's time to control weapons.
I'd say that let's say that Russia goes ahead, hits the SCADA system in the oil fields, and with that they just hit it and everything closes, because most of those are ran off of little 10 watt solar panels, right, that are above each one of the valves. I installed these, I programmed these. This is my fucking baby. I know this goddamn shit inside out. RS-232, RS-485. I could do this shit in my fucking sleep. They hit them and they tell every valve to freaking close. Some of these wells put out like a million MCF, which are cubic feet, right, of like gas a day, and now they're under the pressure because they're under the Earth's pressure. Like, it's not like you could just turn it off and be like, "Yo, homie," that doesn't work.
No, the turn off is more like a turn into bomb, but
it does turns into a bomb. So now you have all of these pipes that are now exploding all over the Southwest and the West, up into where you've got the Dakotas and Alaska. Well, you have these giant clouds of gas now that are quite toxic, where you have hydrogen sulfide gas and stuff like you have a big, huge disaster. Well, you've taken out everybody's heating also, and you've probably set back about 20 years worth of fixing that's going to take to fix the whole damn system. So Russia's like, yes, we do. We fuck up. Yes, America. Fuck you. what would America like a skilled kind of thing against Russia be? Russia's been doing since they've realized they've been fucking up big time in the Ukraine. I think that they've spent a lot of time trying to air gap as much of their shit as fucking possible. And also from watching interviews of people in Russia, like the old, like 90s Russian or 80s Russian, they don't exist anymore. They're very rare. They're no longer like, comrade, I kill everybody with steak. Kill. No, they're more like your average Michiganer, right? Like from Michigan. They're more like your average American than they are anybody else. Your average Russian is no longer that big scary, the guy anymore. They've very much Americanized and Westernized, so they're not going to tough it out and rock and roll. They're going to die in droves. So, what does America do?
So yeah, they're probably pretty air gapped, but there's something that you can't air gap, and that is GPS satellites or communication satellites. So this is the next step, and this would probably be in concert with. So the U.S., at least in like military doctrine, is always combined arms. So we've been trying to isolate the cyber warfare of it, but in reality, the cyber warfare would be part of a combined ops operation. So likely there would be some sort of attempt on GPS to either just shut it down for the Russians or to have control over it. So when and if a land invasion or other combined ops, they could, control the Russian GPS to send them the wrong space or fool them or things like that. That comes to mind.
You look at the MGRS, the military grid system, is different from the civilian grid system. And then China has its own GPS, like its own internal GPS. So if you try to use your maps, Waze, and stuff like that in China, and you try to go to a Burger King, it might take you to a field in the middle of nowhere because your GPS is nothing like their GPS. And their GPS is not usable here either. That's why when you buy a GPS, you have to select what fucking country you're buying the GPS from online.
Yep.
We can use some of their stuff.
But
surveying, we use Russian, American, and Chinese satellites. But we can pick which one we want.
Yeah, but you have to have your grid system set to American.
But I know for a fact that at least America has this capability, and I'm sure all the others do. They can flip a switch and your GPS is no longer accurate by any means whatsoever. Yeah.
China does this. I believe even to their own citizens. I think I saw something about this where if you look at the GPS accuracy, it's like really kind of bad there, but intentionally.
Plus or minus 150 miles.
I think I read something that it shows like the incorrect locations of certain like important buildings too.
Yeah.
Like
to
avoid maybe like military attacks.
The fucking Pokemon Go, they were mapping. China was freaking mapping military bases with Pokemon Go by intentionally putting Pokemon in places that they wanted mapped, like rare ones. And then people would just walk around that fucking base and they'd get like where the roads are at, where the buildings are. Hey, everybody's in this fucking building at this time. Must be a meeting place, And so it was genius cyber warfare. Fucking genius.
And not only are
espionage is huge.
Think about it. Not only are you walking around with Pokemon app, you have your phone out with the camera on, walking around.
Yeah, you're videotaping the whole fucking base, the road signs, everything.
Yeah, you have to be able to see the Pokemon. Yeah.
Oh, that's where the anti-air is.
Yeah, and they were putting it. Yeah, they were putting like rare Pokemon in places they suspected were like secret or interesting, and getting people to go in there and take videos and pictures of it. I was like, God, it's so genius. I was like, clap. Oh yeah, good job.
Yep.
Like,
they pretty much had the entire United States map from that game, I think.
Yeah, it was fucking genius. Genius move on their part. I consider that was some badass cyber warfare shit that they did right now.
Yeah, I bet they have better maps than Google does right now from that.
Probably because they got it down to human footprints. They don't have to guesstimate.
One of the issues I could see with like a sustained cyber warfare, like let's say we just got to this point, I think in all likelihood it would not extend much beyond that, because I think the next attacks would effectively disconnect everyone. And then,
what do you have that the problem where all the satellites fucking crash? So like if we try to take down Russian like GPS, right? What happens to their damn satellites? Do we leave them up there, or do we just shift their timing?
If we destroy the satellites, we just turn one piece of space trash into 30,000 pieces of space trash. It's going to take out all of our stuff too.
Get some nice Kessler Syndrome going.
Yeah, that's what it was. $10 word. Good job. Fuck. What was the word again?
Kessler Syndrome.
Kessler Syndrome. Yeah. Fuck. I was trying to remember.
You guys hear the news today that North Korea is getting ready to launch its first spy satellite? This ought to be great.
This would be great. Yeah.
I love fireworks.
Somewhere. Yeah. I was like, that'll end up somewhere in the ocean.
If we're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, in reality, I think it could only sustain so far before, like, okay, your satellites are trashed, your power infrastructure's trashed. All right, your computers are trashed. You're fighting with rocks now.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna get real angry, real fast.
Yeah, I think hungry and angry.
Societal unrest would be. I'd like to think people are very update to their scenarios really quickly, but there's also the option where they don't. And the difference from going from a technological and information powered world to a not is a big change, especially that we're like all our countries and governments run on distributed communication. That's gone.
I think people under 40 are gonna have a real difficult time. Us over 40, we remember a time, like I remember when my town got first color TV. I remember like stuff like that. So it's like I'd be okay, but like my kids who are 20, no.
Yeah, I mean, imagine a young person today trying to figure out where a steak comes from, other than the store. It would just kill them to know that they had to butcher a cow.
Wait, that's what you have to do?
If you want one and Walmart don't have it, you got to go kill one.
I think there will be a lot of local little, militia groups pop up. Basically no governing body.
Yeah,
there's no communication. Warlords. Yeah, pretty much. Very feudal.
Well, I want to be a warlord. I'd be awesome. Wonderful warlord. Yeah. I'd be a kind and loving warlord.
I gotta be like the shaman to make my place in the new world. Make some like magic tricks and tell them how to do math or something.
This is the times tables.
I can guess what number you're thinking of. I know.
Have you ever balanced a checkbook?
I gotta keep my world atlas with me so I can predict the next solar eclipse.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that's a good way to get steak in the new world.
Yeah.
Might be human, but whatever. Long pork.
It's a good way to keep your belly full.
A little Soylent Green.
Yeah. So let's say Kessler effect takes hold. America gets mad. We try to screw up the timing on Russian satellites. However, the timing is connected to when they actually stay at what altitude, because fucking Russia, they probably have some complex, stupid fucking arrangement like that. And because they overcomplicate everything that has to do with space. And ta-da! We've caused the Kessler effect. How long do you think the Kessler effect lasts?
Forever. That's the problem with the Kessler Syndrome. Okay. So the theory of the Kessler Syndrome is, one, you have so much shit up there, one starts to break, and you get this cascading effect that turns your lower orbit into a field of shrapnel. And space travel is now done. Because if you want to go there, you got to fly through a bunch of bullets.
Yeah, like moving at 33,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, so we just killed our. You got to go clean it up. You got to go send robots up
with
to
what?
bring shit down. Oh yeah, yes. Oh, that's what I'm saying. We're done. Space travel's done.
Great big giant metal.
Good job, everyone. We did it.
Yep.
We got space grenades now.
We're gonna fire a bunch of giant magnets into space and see if we can catch some of this stuff. I don't know.
So one of the benefits, though, is depending on. I actually don't know how high a ballistic missile would fly compared to low Earth orbit. Probably not low Earth orbit. Probably much lower. But maybe there's the possibility that those can't fly no more.
Well, there's quite a few of them that exit the atmosphere and then just stay up there for a while and then come down. And that's easier for them than flying around the entire world.
That's how they
fly up.
That's how the intercontinental ballistics go, but they don't actually enter orbit. So I don't know if they go high enough to get affected by the Kessler Syndrome stuff. But if they did, they would be donezo. They wouldn't be sending those.
Could you use nukes to clear the fucking Kessler effect?
That sounds like such a good idea, man. Send some nukes off right above people's heads. Shower.
It's
high speed.
It's gonna EMP. It's gonna EMP the fuck out of us, right?
Wait,
the EMP is not what I'm worried about, man. I'm worried about my bones starting into plutonium when that fallout falls on me.
Don't worry about it. It's gonna be too far. Fallout's primarily caused by rocks, by the rocks and the ash.
The issue with this is that the amount of space up there is so much. You would have to nuke all of low Earth orbit, which would be covering the entire Earth in nuclear explosions, basically.
Did the United States set one off in low Earth orbit once for a test?
Yeah.
And then they banned them after that because the effects were so crazy.
It's very bad.
It caused an EMP that bounced around the fucking Earth for
it made the clouds glow in the middle of the night all over the Earth and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah. But it caused an EMP that went around the Earth 6 times. But that was way back when everybody was when they do with Tsar Bomba and shit, where everybody was just trying to nuke the fucking. Yeah. They were just mad at islands for some reason. They were just really pissed off.
The nicer the island, the more it needed to go. Yep.
Yeah. It was hey, there's a really nice island over here with some white sandy beaches. Fuck that one specifically.
This one's named Bikini? Fuck that place.
Yeah. Hey, the Bikini Atoll has some huge earthworms now. But
there's one island they hated so much they tried it twice.
It's the one too dark. Disappeared?
No, Japan.
Oh.
Now, okay. I blame America for Japan as it is today. Okay, I blame America for Japan being the panty vending machine,
You don't get that way without a couple nuclear bombs, man.
Well, you don't also get that way without killing off all the adults and letting the kids go Lord of the fucking Flies, which is kind of what happened. And next thing you know, there goes the long-standing culture of Bushido, code, and all sorts of cool stuff. And now comes in the culture of wearing plastic everywhere and tentacle porn. And so I blame America 100%. And I'd like to apologize to Japan. Could have been a much cooler place. And now it's just panty vending machines.
My whole things have changed.
I apologize, but still, it was your fucking fault, America.
I mean, that's the ultimate reset button, though. Let's just do a few big bombs and let's see what happens. We'll reset another culture.
What happened?
Next time it happens, we'll be resetting all the cultures.
Yeah.
All right, so the satellites are down. Wait, what was that?
Oh, my kid's making a drink.
Oh.
Just
wait, what kind of drink?
Cucumbers on her eyes. I don't know. She's being weird.
Wow. She's pretending she's on spa vacation.
She's pretending she's on a spa vacation. So all the satellites are down. We've got Kessler effect going on. How do we reestablish like global net at that point?
Yeah, so here's the issue. Satellites are gone. Power infrastructure is down. If it's not blown up, it could be brought back online.
The oil and gas infrastructure is fucked.
Oil and gas is fucked.
Years.
So that's not coming back for a while. So total possible power output at this time is very low, if you got it. Likely, I mean, there are still computers. Everyone does still have a cell phone. It's quite likely that, a lot of things are probably not safe to use now with the amount of malware that has spread over this, the war that has started. But chips and computers are out there.
Internet porn?
It's probably still out there. It's on a hard drive somewhere, but someone has to find it, and it might as well be you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
so get out there.
I'm launching a rescue effort.
I'll send you some hard drives.
He who owns the porn controls the world.
That's another way to get a stake in the new world.
Yeah, right. Could you could you bring back cell phones similar to the old school way with just towers?
Yes, it's complicated. It would be a lot of bootstrapping. And one of the reasons that we had to move from old tower tech is because of the amount of connections each tower had to use. So the amount of people using phones is a factor. But people presumably still have the know-how. This stuff is documented. We still have the hardware for it. It would take some time, but bootstrapping would be pretty quick, I think. Depending on the physical resources you have, like, can you feed these people that are going to be doing this? Do you have, can you house them?
You're going to crash the population by 2/3 within the first month, anyway. Like 2/3 of the people
but you got to
die.
But you got to keep the system stable of your recovery effort, like the people involved in it that are trying to set up, get the towers going and stuff, bringing out generators and stuff. Figuring out all the technical details. You got to make sure that, somebody doesn't turn them into bacon.
I think you'd probably need to start with fuel of some type so that you could get to
Absolutely.
places. Yeah. You'd need
technology,
to start with fuel and power at the same time. They'd have to both be built at the same time.
To the vast majority of energy use and prioritization, it would have nothing to do with technology, but there would be a small cohort of people doing that. But because of the pre-existing hardware and knowledge, it would be probably like a disproportionate effect. Like a small group of people would be able to bring back a lot of technology for many people. But a large amount of the focus would have nothing to do with that. People would just be trying to, light fires and find food. Or just not get killed by their neighbors.
Yeah. Who do you think would fare better than that? Like, as far as America, Russia, or China?
I think better is probably a multi-dimensional thing, but just to return to a power of a nation power. Probably the United States would fare best. I think there's a lot of populations in Siberia and Western China, which basically would not notice a difference. But
yeah,
they're not the ones that are going to rebuild an empire. But we have so many resources here. That's why I think us is just I think it would be relatively easy for most people to survive and then rebuild here just because of how much shit we have.
Yeah. It's just an interesting thought experiment. What would you do with it? I don't think we'd see a viable Russia come out of it. Just because Russia's really on a shitty course right now. Part of that is that this is the last decade that Russia could field a military. Their people just aren't having babies. and they haven't been having babies for 20 years. Their population has been a major, major decline. But so is pretty much everywhere. America, China, everywhere is in a massive decline. And that's kind of where you're seeing all these wars pop up everywhere. Is that there's just like China has about 20 more years where it can field an actual military before its population is decreased to the point where it doesn't have enough people to fill the tanks, fill the boots. It can't be hostile anymore. This is Russia's last decade where it has the necessary people to be hostile and actually do anything besides guard the borders it has. So if it wants to expand it all, this is its last hurrah. And that's why we're seeing what's going on with Russia.
Russia's had the people, perhaps.
Huh?
Had the people, perhaps.
Yeah, they're not doing very well. And part of the reason they're not doing very well is it kind of goes back to like the Mongol culture. All right. And I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here that shares a little bit of history. Is that the Mongols were unfucking beatable as long as you gave them harsh living conditions. They lived on the steppe. They had to eat voles and shit. And they made all their, they were living off of horse milk and stuff like that. When they started domesticating themselves, every single time they failed and they got beat back by the Chinese or the Russians or anywhere else. And then they went back to the steppes and then they got hard again. And then they came out and just murdered and murdered coast to coast to coast to coast. Every which direction, from Africa to freaking the Arctic and from sea to shining freaking sea. And they did a great job from fucking Spain to the other side of Russia and China. They murdered everybody. And that was only when they went back to the steppes and got hard again. Russia has done very well for itself whenever it was a culture of hardness and beatdown, right? Like where it was like the stereotypical, what everybody calls like a meme kind of Russian. Is it cold? Nah, it's not cold. Fuck you, kind of shit. Where they were kind of like mad Bostonians all the time. But now you've got Russians who are not like that. And they've taken those Russians, which are basically, Russians are like Americans were in like 1995, 96, right? It had been a long time since we had an actual real war. It's really, really, the generation was raised super cushy. Like the scariest thing was like Cujo on TV, there were some Stephen King movies, but everybody had plenty of stuff. Jobs were cheap. Money was cheap. We had lots of stuff. So you're taking those people who are cushy and you're dropping them into tanks and you're trying to treat them like the old Soviet type. You're trying to run them like an old Soviet military. And it has failed, just like it did with the Mongols when the Mongols got soft before they went back to the steppes. There's
some saying, I might butcher it, but the bad times create strength creates good times create complacency, and complacency creates bad times. I think it's something like that.
And Russia's been right in the middle of freaking complacency for a long time. America's basically been in fucking war since 2000? We've got 23 fucking years of murder. And if you look at America's history, we're really not in a war somewhere. But you've had this huge time where the Cold War has been over. There's no real super threats to Russia state. They have some border skirmishes with like the Chets and a couple other people, but they haven't really done much. They have some elite units that have done a bunch, but now they're relying on like having to hire out their military with the Wagner Group and everybody else. And it's just not going good for them. But they also took a group of people who were in a very similar situation prior to Russia deciding that, hey, it just wanted to fuck the Ukraine up. The Ukraine was just a Walmart, go in, Amazon Prime living society. But they decided to FAFO with them. And what happened is all the weak people left. And they left behind the fucking crazy people like us. who went, you know what? Sounds like a great idea. Let's shoot some Russians. And it's just not gone super well. And then you got a huge inpouring of people from around the world who went, hell yeah. I've been training for this shit my whole friggin' life. Come on, Ivan.
The volunteer forces and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
And now we're in a massive proxy war at this point.
Oh yeah.
We're supplying everything, and we're basically fighting a war, World War III with I've been telling people for a long time, hey, we've been in the middle of World War III, but nobody believes me. We've been in World War III with freaking Russia via a proxy called Ukraine.
Everything happens slowly until everything happens all at once.
And then we've been fucking with China and fighting with China there as well. Like, just suspiciously a lot of shit's happening. And suspiciously a lot of shit's been happening here in America, too. Did y'all see where the China came out and admitted? I've been calling it about the whole fucking fentanyl thing, where China came out and admitted that they've been supplying the fucking fentanyl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, no shit.
Yeah,
but I did see that, and yeah.
I've been calling that shit for like 8 months, where it's like, hey, there's this massive amount of fentanyl coming in here. It's a fucking psyops type shit. You know, just, hey, let's kill off some Americans.
It's kind of funny that you're, the theme is the tech war apocalypse. But really, we already fight cyber war. It happens all the time, and it's happening between the people that you listed.
Yeah, like just the other day, T-Mobile had a massive breach. Let's see, who else just got fucked up too? Somebody else. Bank of America has had their ass drug in the dirt so many times it's not even funny.
I mean, to bring it back to the Snake botnet, the Russia's botnet, that is literally a confirmed U.S. versus Russia cyber warfare operation. That's what that is. Front and center, right in the news. It's there.
Did you see the Google put out a warning that came from the CIA that was about the Russian actors and how they were using that like a botnets. It was really, really freaking cool. Let me see if I can find it. Because I sent it to a bunch of people and nobody really like responded because they were like, what's this? I'm not going to read it. It's like a whole sentence. I'm like, just fucking read it. God damn it.
Right?
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
It's a bit ableist to assume they're literate.
Yeah, right? Fuck. Why would I ever assume that someone's literate?
How dare you do that?
Oh, and then your buddy in China, they spent 582 billion 300 million yuan to settle all their fucking debts to circumvent the dollar. Did you see that? It's crazy. So they basically bought back all of their fucking debts in yuan. It was incredible what they managed to pull off. Really, really good shit. Oh, man.
I like how that as an AI researcher being brought on to talk about cyber warfare, we never got anywhere near that. Because I don't think it's even a factor. So many things happen first.
Oh, being about cyber warfare or AI?
Well, you could presumably see AI being in cyber warfare, but in practicality, there's so many things that would happen before that's a main thing.
What could somebody make an AI who is smart enough to manage just fucking with phones or satellites or something?
Yeah, I mean that exists now. So there's some other things. So there's one tool that you can use, which is open source right now, which is called Auto GPT, and it uses GPT-4 to just do shit. So normally GPT-4 is just a language model, but what AutoGPT is, it basically gives it a bunch of tools at its fingertips and like frames its outputs in such a way that it has to like make a plan, think of what's supposed to do, the outcome, do it, check against that outcome, and then also like start up new processes of itself to do like subtasks. And so you could say like, there's I forget exactly what it was about, but I was reading about some people that there's some state senator they were unhappy with, and they used AutoGPT, and they just said like something along the lines of give them a lot of phone calls. They gave it a web phone number. I forget what service they used, and just let it go. And it then it used a text to voice AI to use on the phone by itself, and just like called their office over and over until they had to stop for some reason. I didn't follow up on that, but now change the task and say make it living hell for everyone in this country. Give it enough resources, the right tools.
I just sent you that the state-sponsored People's Republic of China state-sponsored cyber attacker, actor living off the land to evade detection. It just came out on the 24th, so just a couple days ago. I just sent it to you. I also posted it in the FAFO Colts pictures area. But I also sent it to you, Zuri, as a link, just a PM.
Yeah, I'm checking it out.
Maybe you could kind of like tell me what the fuck this means. It just says, summary, the United States and international cybersecurity authorities are issuing the joint cybersecurity advisory to highlight the recent discovery cluster of activity of interest associated with the People's Republic of China, state-sponsored cyber actor known as Volt Typhoon.
Yeah.
Private sector parties, have identified the network across the U.S. critical infrastructure sectors, and authoring agencies believe the actor could apply the same techniques against these and other sectors worldwide. So what is this fucking shit? It says that the actor's primary techniques, tactics, techniques, and procedures is living off of land, which uses built-in network administrative tools to perform their objectives. The TTP allows the actor to evade detection by blending in with normal's Windows system and network activity to avoid detection endpoint and a bunch of fucking abbreviations that I don't give a shit about. So again, then it gives a whole bunch of like some of the built-in tools this thing uses. Doesn't mean a shit to me. And then it gives like a huge amount. Like if you read into the PDF, it gives like every login in detail. It says it goes through AT&T and a whole bunch of shit. Just jacks a bunch of things up.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
So let's go over a couple of these terms. So like what's one that might be? So living off the land. So what this means is he's a long-term infiltrator. It's not a get in the system and go out once you're done. It's you go in there and you quote unquote live off the land. So that's like botnet stuff. That's espionage stuff. So he's getting in and staying in for long terms. And so it's been identified that this individual, likely a couple people, but sometimes they're individuals, but they're all, they've seemed to identify this person or persons as being part of state-sponsored operations. And they often try to hide the identities of these people or multiple people for obvious reasons. They're very valuable.
I'd love to burn them at a stake.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the reason why. Whenever you have such an individual operator that's so effective, they're very valuable. But that's basically what it means. They've identified that this person or persons is doing a lot of stuff on Windows computers through stuff like that's typical Windows stuff like PowerShell and some other tools that they said like NetSH and TDS.
Yeah, it says it's
whatever.
Leverage compromised small home office stuff. Networks as intermediary infrastructure to obscure their activity. It says being reproduced. It's the internet is avoid them being repurposed and redirected by malicious actors. So basically, it's taking over your small home network, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, this guy's making botnets.
Yeah. The actor has used Earthworm, which is that. It's a custom fast reverse proxy client with hard-coded C2 callbacks. Don't know what it said. I think I just caused a small stroke by trying to figure it out. Something about it goes fast.
A reverse proxy is basically a program running on a computer that will let you connect to it, even though technically the computer doesn't accept like inbound connections. It's like sending this outbound connection saying like, hey, I'm here, come talk to me. And then you talk to it through that. Where like a normal, like a web server, like let's say you're hosting a website, that server needs to take inbound requests because like it's not going to know to send a website to someone unless they ask for it. But your home computer should not be doing those sorts of things to outside requests because it's not serving data to them. You are requesting data always like on your local computer. So reverse proxy kind of gets around that, and that's how you can take all of these people with their home offices, their printers, your 80-year-old dad with his old CRT monitor. That thing's now Volt Typhoon's botnet. I love these names that they come up with.
Right? It sounds like some
how do they come
Marvel
up with this?
Character. No, it's a Marvel character. It's got to be a Marvel character, right? like it's too cool of a fucking name, right?
Yeah, well, it's usually code names for agents. They do this quite often to be able to speak about someone without a name.
Agent Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Yeah, an agent doesn't mean like special agent, just like an operating individual.
So what could this jackass do, or this group of jackasses?
He could do a lot of things. I mean, one of the immediate things is like obviously they could get data off your computer. They probably are doing that, but that's not the main purpose. The main purpose is really just computing power. The more compute power you have, the more stuff you can do. And especially the more stuff you can do adversarially if you have a bunch of separate networked devices, because then each of them can, like, let's say you're doing like just a basic denial of service attack. You can have each one of those computers make a request to something to take it down. And if you only had one, you could try to have that one computer do a bunch of requests, but it's limited by its speed, its single network connection. But if you have a bunch of network connections, you now have some power at your fingertips. You got a bigger gun.
Like ant colony.
Yep.
That's interesting. What would, if you were China, what would you use this to do?
Oh, espionage all the way. Constant espionage. That's the main thing. I mean, as soon as you go outside of espionage, the waters get murkier on provocation and stuff, especially if you get checked out. But so far, there's somewhat of a precedent of very little retaliation on like severe espionage through cyber attacks, because like it's just like can't be seen as a violent attack. Because what are you going to do? Go send troops over and start World War III?
Unplug his computer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This Delta team's like, drops in, pimply face fucking kid, just like butt strokes his computer to shit. Then just points at him and he goes, "You know what you fucking did," and then fast ropes out.
You're grounded, kid.
Butt stroke to the head. Slash series. Move.
Yeah, knowledge is powerful though. So like if you know things about, like if you're China and you just know things about the US internally that's not public, that immediately puts you in a better position. It's incredibly valuable even without doing like attacks to disrupt or destroy things through it. Well, maybe you're doing that indirectly, but just being able to get the information is huge.
Yeah. Well,
even knowing like banking patterns of Americans, like who knows what the fuck you can do with that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of easy to tell. Like, the 1st to the 15th, everybody's going to get paid. So, or it's welfare day.
Yeah, but there's even more like nuanced things you could figure out.
Jesus. just turn welfare off for a fucking month and see what happens. Watch the world eat itself. Jesus Christ. Just screw that shit up. Just screw up that system. No, like seriously, I don't think it would be very difficult. The government really, really sucks at doing its own security. Like, look what they did with the stupid, what is it, the Obamacare website, right? So, like,
that just made me think, what if in America, what if health insurance was taken down? Because because you got to fucking pay to survive here. What are all the hospitals going to do? All of a sudden, nobody has health insurance, or you can't verify it?
No, they would take everybody anyway.
They would take everyone. Yeah, it's just kind of a funny thought.
They would take everybody anyway, but then just bill everybody, and it'd be up to you to unfuck it. Like they would be like, all right, well, whatever, not our fault. You're just gonna get a bill, and it'd be just up to you to then submit it to your health insurance and stuff. What would be worse is just like the cash assistance, food stamps, shit like that. That can't be too difficult to take down. They screw it up on a regular basis, and it gets delayed or jacked up because it's on a bunch of janky-ass machines. So it just doesn't seem like it'd be very hard for them to mess up. But man, they could really, really mess up the world.
Yeah, I mean, even at I can't talk about it too much, but at work over the past couple of weeks, we actually had a security incident with someone trying to hack into us. They didn't end up being able to do anything, but we saw, some little actions in the logs, so to speak, of someone trying to poke and prod.
It was probably the damn Chinese.
We haven't gotten that far yet, but honestly,
I was
we
just
don't even know
trying to
yet.
add $1 million to my bank account. If you guys would just do it for me, I would quit trying. Okay?
I hear you. Fortunately, it's above my pay grade to say whether we could allow that or not. But like it's quite possible. It might have been what you could say is a script kiddie or a skid, just some kid with that found some software online that does what they want, or possibly state-sponsored agents trying to find any companies in America that they can get in, which is very common. And in this case, they didn't get in, but you could see someone starting to like try to touch around the edge of the door, that sort of thing, in a metaphor. And so like for about the past 2 weeks, we've been like war room, like buttoning everything up, making sure there's no cracks.
Very interesting. Because, I mean, like, you guys have had a lot of crazy freaking AI crap that letting somebody in there to go and fuck with it be a bad idea. I mean...
Yeah, fortunately, the systems we use are more fun than scary, maybe. But at the same time, like, we got a lot of compute up there, man. It takes a lot of compute to train these things. So someone put that on a botnet. Holy shit, it's like Christmas for them.
Yeah, 45 minutes of me talking to your AI, and it'll go homicidal.
Unfortunately, one I'm working on doesn't speak right now. So
let me just monologue to it for 45 minutes, and it's fucking over.
Might show you a picture, and yeah, it starts off happy, and it's getting a little scarier over time.
It's like what Reddit did to those, or 4chan did to those poor bots, like made them super racist.
Right. Yeah, it just like starts like generating images of like signs with text, and because this model doesn't speak, but perhaps it can express some ideas through images.
What about what percentage do you think are actually they're using like a chat GPT type bot that can have conversations with people, or at least make coherent posts on the internet in order to try to sway elections and shit, like what they were doing, what people accused Russia of doing with their little Russian bots and stuff like that? Do you think is that something
that is Russia the way to do it now? That's like
is that
the way
something
to
that
do it
Russia
now.
could actually do?
Yeah. I mean, it's being done. That is the way to do mass misinformation campaigns now, because it just can produce so much content. That's the thing. It's just like, instead of a team of 10 people posting, you have one person that, is now the force of like 50.
So how do we get one of those to promote our website? Like, can we get a botnet to like promote the shit out of FAFO cult and just have it go like, it doesn't matter where it's at, just fuck with people and promote the shit out of our stuff.
We could do that.
In every
just like,
household
just have
by
it
tomorrow morning.
Just like, the giant fucking squid pops up. It's like, obey.
It's not gonna be long before we start seeing that. Like the auto GPT thing I was telling you about, that was like a toy project that someone made. It just uses OpenAI's like API to call out to ChatGPT, but it's like a program made to allow it to like control your computer. And it was just a toy project, but it already does like so many crazy things. So very soon someone's just going to take like the auto GPT 2 and type in like, promote FAFO at all costs. here's my debit card, go.
here's Russia's debit card.
Yeah, I do someone else's.
Someone searching for first aid advice, send them to FAFO.
Right.
Exactly. We've got it. We just have to listen to the wilderness survival episode.
Right.
They can do it. Right.
Hey, teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. Remember that.
Right. Teach a man about drugs, he's good to go. But how far away are we from having like bad actor AIs be a thing we have to worry about?
Probably pretty soon. I mean, we already have them in terms of like the being used for misinformation, for like content generation, and even like that example I gave earlier with the like spam calls on that state office. Like that's certainly, like, you could consider that bad acting. But that's like probably pretty minor. I think it'll be very soon where some bigger things occur, where a large part of the process was done by an autonomous agent.
Yeah, where he could like give it a command of like, hey, promote FAFO at all costs. The next thing you know, like the gas pump screens are popping up with FAFO cult, and goddamn every fucking thing is replaced with it.
There's this story in that all AI researchers hear about called the was it the stamp collector, or sometimes the paperclip collector? But the stamp collector is like, okay, you make this AI and you say collect stamps, and it's because you want to collect stamps and you're slow at it. You give it like a debit card, you show what eBay is, and you go away for a week and you come back to your house, and in the house the AI has found out that humans have all the necessary materials to make stamps. So it's like harvesting human bodies and turning them into stamps.
Yes,
because
it's perfect.
Yeah, that's a common story. We haven't gotten anything near that, but like you can see this in like dummy experiments, like you try to train a model to play a video game and get the highest score, and it finds out the best way to get the score is actually just to like drive around in circles and keep hitting this coin over and over again. It technically did what you wanted. But
at that point it's like props, bro, because like that was intelligent. Like it worked. It's finding a loophole.
Until it's cool. Like you tell it to collect stamps and its solution is nuclear war.
Well, I mean, it just kind of burned the hair for the ink, and then like prison style.
It just needs so much pure carbon on the surface of Earth to make all these stamps.
It shall collect all stamps.
But yeah, I think we'll see some incidents where people are using autonomous agents just like straight up maliciously to do like a full end-to-end malicious task, and then there will be some stamp collectors.
How likely do you think the Great Goo type or AI fucks us all up scenario is?
I think they're I almost said that I might disentangle them, but I guess Grey Goo is like a little more specific of an idea of
nanobots.
We can pull them. We can we can just pull it together. I mean, I think
the nanobots.
Let's just say it's going to happen. Just with no nuance, it's going to happen. Like humanity is not going to be us. But here's the thing: is though that's not to me being destroyed. It's just like our children.
We now become. We just now become
progress
pets of the AI.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe garden.
I mean, maybe not even. I mean, if we have the capability to create cognition, I probably don't want to leave my mind the way it is. I probably want to upgrade it. I want to figure that out. Use AI to help upgrade my own abilities. Go further, see further. I don't want to just, people want to change the world and fix things, but never want to change themselves. That sort of thing. I see in that.
I'm listening to a book right now. It's called Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I've listened to the first one. I'm on to the second one. And it's about the world made this super ultra powerful AI called the Thunderhead. And what it did was it eliminated every fucking problem. It streamlined the production of food. It eliminated like death and the ability to die. Made pretty much everybody functionally freaking immortal. The only way you could actually die is by being like dropped into freaking acid, so there's nothing left to revive, or being burnt to a freaking crisp, so there's nothing left to revive. And what it's done is it's created this. It actually needed to erase a lot of the violent history in order to kind of bring everybody into a new reality. And part of it is that now you have everybody still living in this crazy utopia and still having kids, and everybody lives however long you want. So they have to have scythes, people who are basically like angels of death who go out there and randomly murder some people in order to keep the population down. And listening to the AI talk about itself in the book is absolutely fascinating because, it doesn't have a body. It's supposed to be benevolent. But once you get to book 2, you can kind of see that it's benevolently weird. It's more like we're a crop that they're growing versus an actual sentient people.
Right.
Make sense?
I think a lot of AI sci-fi hits this point because I think it misses a key idea of like what it means to understand cognition well enough to make a super AI. Like if we can do that, we're not going to be the same. Like our horizons of what like our life isn't like we're in the Plato's cave or whatever, looking at shadows on the wall. Like if we understand cognition, like we're not going to, just want to walk around in our cities, do our daily things, go get food, do a job. Like our horizons are going to expand. So I think what a big thing
they're doing
that
a
gets
lot
missed.
Of cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, even then, that's always happening. But I think like it's going to be alien. Like we know so little about the universe. Like we're on floor 0. We haven't even gotten up the first floor yet. So I think people will get a little bit imaginative with what the improvements in cognition can do, but they don't take it far enough, and that leaves you with humans living like humans with a robotic overlord, because that seems like a thing that we would do. Like it seems like what we would do now, but it's it's going to be so different. Like I don't see it being like that. We wouldn't just be like cattle. We would just being able to understand how to do that, it instantly gives you the ability to extend your own cognition.
Do you think that humans are going to require supercognitive AI or something in order to go to space and beyond?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be sending human bodies out there. It's like we're going to figure out how to build self-aware AI before we can get a human body out of the solar system. It's just going to make sense. Like, why send a squishy bag of meat when you could just send a consciousness?
Do you think we could put a consciousness into a squish, like, from a squishy bag of meat into an AI or like into a robotic body.
Yeah, probably. But it's going to bring up some weird philosophical questions about
I'm
what it means
fucking
to
down.
be you.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
My knees hurt. I'm fucking down.
Yeah.
RoboCop engaged.
So if you can transfer a consciousness, it means you also can copy a consciousness. So that's one thing. So you got to
75 of me.
Yep. So there's
they're all the same person.
So there's that philosophical little hill to cross, which I think is probably somewhat easier, like one of the easier ones for most people. Like you could see, like, oh yeah, like I could kind of conceptualize how, like, I could be copied and both would think they were the original.
Or a hive mind, multiple bodies in one mind.
Yep. No, that's no different than one body, one mind in my mind. But the other
how many times do you copy a person before that person loses
the original
statehood?
So here's the other. So that brings me to the second.
Did you make like 400 Jenna Jamesons and have them all be Jenna Jameson? Or at one point does Jenna Jameson number 111 become a fucking pet?
So that's the other philosophical challenge is, okay, so if you can transfer your consciousness, what happened to you in between? And what happened to you in between that last moment, like if you just in your body right now, what happened between you and that last moment of consciousness and now? Are you the same one? Are you different? Is it different when you copy? Is there like the sense of identity and like the sense of identity and like what you are once you get here kind of goes against the grain of how people typically think.
I mean, by observing something, you change it. I imagine by copying something, you change it too.
Oh yeah,
that's like the old Star Trek question. When they go through the transporter and their body gets destroyed on one end and put back together on the other, are they the same person?
Yep. Are you the same person
Hopefully.
right now as you were a second ago? Like it to me, it's kind of a moot point if it's like a copy is going to be different than you. It's like, are you different than you?
Deep stuff, man. Jack Handy thoughts for the shower, I'll tell you.
There's some great books I read recently called the Children of Time series, and space sci-fi, but they talk a lot about consciousness and the
no, I'm down.
And the different forms of it.
Was that Adrian Tchaikovsky or whatever her name was? Yeah,
yep.
I own all of them, son. All of them. Listen to them not long ago, actually. Yep.
No, they're so good. One particularly interesting thing in there is the corvids, which are they're birds, corvids, and they sort of operate as two individuals as one mind, where they're like two halves of a whole. And one thing that they say in the book is that they don't believe that they're sentient, but if they were, it lay between them and not in either of them. So that kind of like, at least to me, sort of presents the idea of like, it's really hard to actually believe that there's a thing, like a single thing like your mind or your consciousness. It seems, we're going to have to overcome some hurdles with that one when we get there.
Wow.
That'd be pretty neat to be able to just print people out though.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get there. It's not magic.
Can we paper shredder them too?
Look, there's a very famous book series about that. It's the Undying Mercenary series, where you sign up for the military, and then if you're killed, you just get pooped out of freaking machine, birthed out of the machine with your memories up to the point that you were
died.
Killed. Yeah, and they're undying because they just how badass of a soldier would you be if you stayed 25 freaking years old, but you've been through 100 years of war, and you're totally not afraid of freaking dying.
Yeah, and in fact, you'll actually use it. You'll actually use it like offensively.
You'll be back in 25 minutes.
Go run into the trench with a C4 vest on.
Oh, or crazier stuff like ride a satellite down.
Yeah. ride that rod from God right into the earth.
Steer it down. It's like, what's the worst thing that fucking happens? You print it back out in 25 minutes.
Yep.
So, and then you're bored with a whole brand new body. You get hurt, and it's cheaper and easier to have your command shoot you and print you back out than it is to try to heal you.
It brings up an interesting question about like consciousness of like, is it the same one? Because like, if it is, was it in the data?
Series, in that book series, there were times where they were in dire straits and tried to print people faster, and like 1 in 10 would have something wrong with them. And sometimes that may be you're born with webbed toes, or you come out with like maybe something slightly wrong. And the main protagonist in that show, he came out one time as like crazy sociopathic, and they had to like, it took a lot of people to take him down, you know. But that's a great series. If anybody wants to read it or listen to it on Audible, it's like book 20 now, I believe. It's absolutely fantastic. It's hilarious. My wife enjoys the series, but it brings up, if you're just looking at it from a straight AI or a cognition or just a repeatability of like what makes consciousness standpoint, it's pretty fascinating. But,
excellent.
Well, guys, I think we've probably scared our listener group.
Scared me a little bit.
We've covered a lot of pretty scary shit, and this is the kind of episode I fucking love. We should probably throw something kind of like mushroom related in here. Let's see. God damn it.
I got blue honey.
Yeah, blue honey is a great thing.
I gotta flip it.
Great thing to make. Yeah. But don't lick your spore prints. There you go. That seems pretty.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, spore prints don't use them as pasties. Like, like don't put them over your nipples. Yeah.
Be careful with portobello mushrooms. It's an explosive subject. Might get Paul Stamets hurt.
But
let's
go ahead and call it.
It makes sense.
Let's call this episode here, as if not, me and Zuri will talk for the rest of everybody's life, pretty much. Because this is the kind of shit fascinates the fuck out of me, man. Love this stuff. Love it, love it, love it.
The whole point of that is theoretically you can make an explosive out of portobello mushrooms if you know how to refine them.
Oh my!
God damn it!
A very powerful explosive too.
I want.
We weren't on a watch list. We are now. Damn.
God damn it! Give me something else to fucking Google. Jesus. Explosive mushrooms. All right. We're going to go around the room. Deadpool's not here. He decided to, I guess, just like, fuck you guys. And he's not with us this episode. So we are going to start with Michael Nutty, as we need something nice from you, buddy. You're probably pretty high. I've heard you hit something a couple of times. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm in the exosphere right now. So positivity.
Say something positive, sir.
When in doubt, don't forget shit could always be worse. It's always a good thing to take a few breaths and recount all the good things going on, even when it seems like there's too much bad. It's my positivity.
Okay. Basically the same thing you said last time.
I'm running out of shit.
Zuri, what do you got for us, buddy?
Be good out there and don't have an existential crisis over your consciousness now or anything.
Yet.
Yet.
Wait until you do like a 5-gram dose and think of how many copies there are of you out there in the multiverse.
Oh, you won't have to have an existential crisis then. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. And hey, would you meet yourself and give yourself a handy? Or is that gay?
I'll get back to you on that. Got to do the math.
I mean, like, I don't know. I don't think it counts. It's you. But if it's you from a different like multiverse, We need Deadpool for this. This sounds like a Deadpool question.
He would know. He would know the answer.
Oh, yeah, he'd be all over this. Like white on rice with a glass of milk on a paper plate in a snowstorm. He'd know exactly what he's talking about.
You understand that? Yeah, except for a piece of shit.
So there's food for thought for today, guys, is if you met alternate you and you guys had a couple of drinks, or girls or ladies or whatever, and you gave yourself a handy, how does it change your outlook on the world?
Right?
Everybody's like thinking, processing. Would it feel like touching yourself?
That'd be weird.
Yeah, right?
Then again, what do we do that's not weird lately?
Well, I mean, it's a handy. It's not like you did anything different or weird. Right. It's like handies for everyone. Who knows? You might have been depressed. All right. Trip.
Something positive. Well, I know we said a lot of scary stuff about the end of the world, electronic warfare and stuff, but you as a regular person have a defense against that. Learn how to survive without electronics. And if something like this ever does happen, you won't be the lost sheep out there. You'll be the wolf. Remember that. Just knowledge is power. Learn how to grow a garden. Learn how to hunt.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. I could kind of build on that a little bit and say that the more knowledge that you have, the less scary the world seems. And it doesn't matter what kind of knowledge that is. You come out of the Stone Age and come into the regular technological age, and the more that you gain, as long as you stay away from specific things like, the news, politics, and stuff like that, and work on actual subjects, the more knowledge you get on any subject, the less scarier the subject is. So if you do spend some time trying to buffer what could happen between your family and the world, it goes right back to being prepared or working on your personal preparedness, not just your, watching cat videos online. And then, but I do want everybody to go ahead and do 5 grams and think about giving yourself a handy.
I'll report back to you on that one.
Yes, I just want to see the existential crises happen. I just want to see so many people come and go. It really wasn't as weird as I thought, or oh my god, or just
I found myself there.
Yeah, we had a long talk, and we set a date. Did you marry yourself from an alternate timeline?
I don't know. I think you would create a parallel universe so you couldn't technically off yourself.
But what if you were like a chick or a fucking lizard person or something? Right? Who knows? There's infinite universe with infinite possibilities.
And that's what I think happens. Instead of time travel, you're doing alternate universe travel. You can't go back and see yourself in this reality. It would have to be another reality. But we won't get into that. That gets a little deep.
A time travel episode would be fun. Time travel episode would be fun. All right. Guys, we thank you for listening to us. This has been a really fun episode. I love these kind of episodes. Thank you, Zuri, for coming on. We really appreciate whatever you do, buddy. You always are very, very insightful and always have a lot of technological crap to add. Way above most of us, our understanding, and we appreciate it. As usual, if you guys want to send us hate mail, I'm sure that I've offended somebody this episode. Please do so at fafocult@gmail.com. I love to hear from you. Whether it's tell me how horrible of a person I am or, hey, you enjoyed the show. We love it either way. If you'd like to send us a few dollars, we promise to use it for no good. It'll go just straight to debauchery and keeping this podcast going. You can do that at FAFO and for the Venmo is at FAFO. For the Cash App, it's $FAFO Cult. If you'd like to go out and buy some of our sweet merch, that is going to be fafocult.etsy.com. And we're still working out how to do live shows so you can call in, text, be in a chat room. And we promise we'll get that ironed out this next week. It's going to take a little bit more experimentation. We've got it to where it works 50% of the time. It works all the time. Right? So we're down to about 50% on that thing. Thank you guys for listening, and we're out. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Bye-bye.